She seemed like she meant it. Thanks, I said and looked at Wesley. You're done here. You can't leave yet. We just got here, Dean said, flashing a smile at me. My stomach fluttered at the sight, and I quickly looked away. Wes, I can't leave the game unfinished, Nick. John won't let me hear the end of it since he's in the lead. Fine, I said, and laughed dryly. When not a minute passed, they started a new game to include Ryder and Andy with Dean watching. I glanced at the doorway. My stomach churned with nerves. Wesley was like an uncle to me, and John was my best friend. If Father found out they were going against his orders, it wouldn't go well for them at all. Why does your dad have such a hard-on for Dean? Carr asked as the boys started to play. I mean, I get he's a bit of an idiot, but he's a good guy. Oh, I knew you loved me, KK, Dean said, then yelped as Andy hit him in the back of the leg with his pool cue. The surge of anger rushed through me, my muscles tensed, and I had the urge to growl at the blonde Viking. What was wrong with me? So you're one of your dad's enforcers? Carr asked, and when I nodded, she asked again, what do you do? Frontline. Her eyes widened. Seriously, I couldn't help but grin. Frontline was the first to deal with any threat, and only the best of the best got to be part of the team. It had taken a lot of work, but I earned it. Yep, John is one too. Wesley used to work for them as well. Sweet, I'm one of this pack's trackers. Saw quite a bit of action with our fight against Black Mountain, Kara said. Yeah, I remember their alphas spoke with Dad a bit for our support, but it was over before he gave his answer. Really, what would have been his answer? Brooke asked. That was a loaded question, considering what Black Mountain did to her. He didn't tell me, I told her. It was the truth, but I knew he was strongly considering sending us to help the previous alpha of Black Mountain. She gave me a weak smile. Right. I blew out of breath. Awkward. This whole situation was awkward in all honesty. I couldn't relax here, especially knowing Father would be furious. I waited long enough for everyone to be pulled in the game, and I slipped out of the room. As the distance between the others and me grew, my nerves went away. I rubbed the back of my neck to ease some of the remaining tension when someone grabbed my other hand. I thought you'd never leave. Come on, let's go, Dean said, grinning as always, and jogged down the hall, pulling me with him. Wait, what? He glanced back at me, winked, and kept going. To my surprise, he had a firm grip on my hand, and I couldn't free myself. Dean pulled us into a dark room with a large pool in the center. No one ever comes in here this late, so we should be good. He sat at the edge, taking off his shoes and rolling up his pants. Come on, dip your feet in. The water is great. I promise I won't bite unless you ask. He waggled his eyebrows at me. I rolled my eyes as I sat next to him, but I had no idea why. This was a bad idea. Being alone with him was a very bad idea. Why are we here? Why not? My father. You worry too much, beautiful. Look, you've been here a few days now, and I've hardly got to say 3 words to you before someone takes you away. It can't be too much to ask to want to have one uninterrupted conversation. It might. Dean reached for my hand, but I moved it to my lap. He frowned and shook his head. Okay, so what do you like to do? I bit my lip, debating on what I should do. For some reason, I couldn't bring myself to leave like I should. I work out, train, and when you're not doing that, I shrugged. Not much, really. Between training and my enforcer duties, I don't have free time. So no hobbies or anything? Working out is a hobby, I told him. How many hours do you work out? About 8 or so. It depends on what I'm doing. 8 G's? No wonder you hit this so hard. Why so long? I shrugged. I have to if I'm going to be as strong as the guys on the team. Why do you have to be as strong as them? I mean, as long as you can hold your own. Because I have to be. If I'm not as strong as them, then I'm a weak link. So what do other women on the team do? There is no other women. None can reach the strength requirement, and most don't even want to try. I told him, proud I'd become the exception. Dean started to laugh. That's bullshit. Dad's enforcers have a lot of women. They may not be as physically strong as some of the guys, but that doesn't mean anything. There is this one woman, Renee. She's barely 5 foot and doesn't lift as much as anyone else on the team, but I've seen her kick all their asses. Irritation flared in me. What was Dean's point? Great, good for her, but it's not how my pack works, and I like being strong. I told you I'm not like the other women, and I'm fine with it. What? I didn't mean wait, he said when I started to stand. Dean grabbed my hand, pulling me to sit back down. I didn't mean to offend you, Nick. It's only that it doesn't seem too healthy to push yourself so hard. I'm perfectly healthy and fine. Look, Dean, we're too different. This won't work. It's best if I leave now. Dean frowned and wouldn't let go of my hand when I tried to pull away from him. No, it's not. Yes, it is, I said, frustrated. I am one of the guys, and I like it that way. I don't like to gossip or shop or flirt or whatever it is other girls do. Good, because I don't like gossip or shopping either. He flashed me another grin. If it's what makes you happy, then it's fine by me. I let out a breath and shook my head. I don't think you're listening to me. He laughed. No, actually, the one who isn't listening here is you. Nick, it doesn't matter to me how different you are from other women or me. I don't care how you dress or what you look like. None of that is important. Really, you don't care? Dean shook his head side to side. You don't care I'm not soft or sweet or I'm stronger than you? Nope, not even a little bit. He laughed even more when I didn't bother to hide my skepticism. Seriously, it means nothing to me. Who you are is much more important. You realize how cheesy you sound, I said, and tried to free my hand once more. Cheese is awesome, he replied, still not letting go. Why do you keep holding my hand? I asked, again a little irritated. I like the way it feels in mine, and you haven't asked me to let you go. I couldn't help but laugh. You're crazy. So cheesy, what do you do with your time? Well, I have to admit I don't always have a lot of free time usually either. My shifts at the hospital usually keep me busy. You're a doctor, I said with surprise. He snorted. Hell no, I'm a nurse. A nurse, I repeated. Is that judgment I hear? No, of course not. I don't think I convinced him. Why not a doctor? I'll have you know there is a lot of guy nurses, he said with a nod, and I wanted to help people. Doctors pop in and out without a lot of interaction with their patients. Nurses are the ones who get someone a drink when they're thirsty, help regulate medication to make sure they're comfortable. It's the nurses that make the biggest impact, despite all the hype docs get. I see, I replied, not sure what to say. He laughed and gave my hand a squeeze. The worst part is my mom still gets to boss me around since she's my actual boss. He scrunched his face in disgust, and again I found myself laughing. When I'm not there, I usually hang out with my brother and everyone. My thoughts jumped to my own brother. I hated that after all these years I still missed him sometimes. What's wrong? Nothing. I was thinking of my brother. You have a brother. I'm not so sure he deserves to be called that anymore. When I was little and Mom died, he and Father got in a fight. Brandon left and never looked back. Just like that. No goodbyes or anything. Not even a note, I said, the bitterness slipping into my voice. He's a dick. Yeah, so it's been Father and me since then. It's why I need to be as strong as the others. I have to be the alpha. I have to be the son he lost, I said, watching Dean frown more as I spoke. He didn't understand. Dean was free to be who he wanted. His brother was the one who had to take on the responsibilities of alpha. I didn't want to argue the point with him anymore. I should be getting back. Father might check in, and if I'm not there or with Wesley, it'll be bad. Dean shook his head as if he knew exactly what was on my mind. All right, let me walk you back. He put on his shoes again and walked me back to my room. We walked back in silence, and when we stopped at the door, his smile was back full force. I wondered if his face hurt from so much smiling. I like this, he said. I hope we can sneak away again soon. I laughed quietly. Yeah, it wasn't bad. Dean grabbed my hand as I turned to go inside. Sleep well, Nick. He brought my hand to his lips. I gasped as my heart leaped to my throat as he kissed my palm. I felt the kiss like an electric jolt all the way from my hand to my toes. And don't forget to dream of me. He winked and I rolled my eyes, fighting a smile. You are so certifiable, Dean. Good night, I said, going inside, and once the door was closed, I let the smile emerge. God help me, Dean was an idiot, but I was starting to like him. What is wrong with me? 6'7". All my worry for Father to catch us outside the room with Dean was pointless. Father didn't come to see me until nearly 9 in the evening. So how did everything go? I asked when he sat in the window seat. The usual humor. The girl, Alice, she's not giving up on her silly ideals concerning the rogues, he replied as he gave me a narrowed-eyed stare. My throat tightened as he continued to stare. What, I should ask you that, he said in a gruff bark. What did I do to deserve such betrayal from my family and those I most trust? Oh no, what do you mean? Father scoffed and narrowed his eyes even more. I'm no fool, girl. I can smell the scent that boy, Dean, on you. You've been around him again. It could have only happened if Wesley allowed it. Why would my beta betray my orders? I sighed, pulling my legs up on the bed to sit cross-legged. Wesley meant no disrespect to you, Father. He's Alpha Brent's son, and how can Wesley refuse without causing tensions between our packs? Thanks to me, we're already on shaky ground with the Alpha. Father snorted and rubbed his chin with a thoughtful look. What does he want from you, Nick? Why is the fool becoming such a thorn in my side? Diplomacy, I offered weakly. Father's eyes narrowed at me again. I licked my lips as I looked at my hands and said in a soft hush, he's my mate. I cringed, waiting for him to explode, but I only received silence. So much so I had to look up. His jaw was clenched tightly as he stared at me. Mate, I nodded. Well, that won't do, he said, shaking his head. Not at all. You need a strong mate, not that they clown. Although we had argued about this before, I wasn't able to stop myself. Do I? I'm as strong as any man. I can match every guy on our Enforcers I team. Those men are not alphas, Nick. So I'm not afraid of any man. Alpha or not, they will not take our pack from me, I said, lifting my chin with pride. I knew I would be able to, and so did the pack. The only one who doubted me was him. Father shook his head. No, you can't, men. Biologically are gifted with more muscle mass and strength than women. An alpha male will always best you. Why do you think men and women do not play on the same sports team or compete against each other? Nick, all it takes is one loss to lose everything I've built, just one. I considered mentioning the enforcer Dean told me about, but it didn't seem to be a good idea, not when Father thought so little of him. Instead, I decided to take the conversation into a different path. And how do you know Dean isn't strong? Have you seen him fight or heard of his fighting skills? Father snorted again. I've learned enough. Can you believe he's a nurse? What kind of man is a nurse? Father, you can't seriously judge his character by his profession. You are better than that. He made a hump sound. I don't like him. You never said I needed to have a mate you liked, I shot back. You only said I needed a strong mate. Father frowned and scowled at me. I will not hand my pack to that fool. You're not, I said, my voice rising an octave as anger warmed my blood. You're handing it to me. Don't you raise your voice to me, girl. I am your father and Alpha. A growl rumbled out of my chest, and I didn't try to stop it. Right now, I doubted I could even if I wanted to. You are being difficult, Father. I hate this idea you have that I need a mate because I don't, but I'm trying. Are you? You don't get to question me, he said, his voice rising now. My heart raced as my anger grew. Why not? It's my life, I demanded, standing. This is not about you, you selfish girl. This is about the pack and what's best for them. I laughed a bitter, humorless laugh. You can't honestly believe those men you introduced me to yesterday were better for the pack than me or even Dean for that matter. Last warning, watch your tone, or I'll check it for you. I stood and put my hands on my hips. That's all you have to say. Watch my tone. You know I'm right. I do not. Where are you going? He demanded as I moved towards the door. I am not done with you. Yeah, well, I'm done with you. Unless you want to test your theory of masculine superiority and force me to challenge you, Father, I suggest you don't get in my way. His eyes widened and indecision crossed his face, but he didn't stop me from leaving. My hands opened and closed as I stormed down the hall, and instead of going to the gym, like I usually did when I was upset, I left the house. We were surrounded by woods, and I didn't slow until I was well beyond the tree line. This angry, only my wolf would help me calm down. Despite everything, I didn't want to fight Father. I didn't want to humiliate him in front of the beta or other alphas. I undressed quickly, the cool air making my skin prickle in goosebumps, and grunted in pain as I shifted. It took me almost 3 minutes to shift completely into my wolf. Shaking out my fur, a rumbling growl, then a howl burst from my throat as I dashed off into the woods as fast as I was able. I was sure there was something in these woods I'd be able to hunt and dine on. It was full dark when I returned to my pile of clothes and started to shift back to human. My teeth chattered in my head when I was fully human again, and I couldn't get dressed fast enough. As soon as I walked back inside, I saw Wesley waiting for me, a grim expression on his face. I blew out of breath. How bad